Tragic, causing or characterized by extreme distress or sorrow. Used in a sentence, Zeke Yeager is tragic. How would you treat someone whose history is full of terrorizing your people? Would you feel the need to avenge your ancestors, or would you forgive and forget? I'm sure we would all have our own answers for these questions. But how about I propose another question? One that isn't asked nearly as often. How would you feel to be the offspring of a bloodline with a history of tormenting others? That question is a much more complex and difficult question to answer, and is one question Zeke Yeager has been thinking over his whole life. Zeke Yeager is one of the most, if not the most, tormented character in all of Attack on Titan. But what are the extents of Zeke's torment, and how does it affect him today? To explore this, we need to first go into the backstory of the Attack on Titan universe. Now first, I have to give a spoiler warning, as the following information I'm going to be discussing is currently ahead of the anime. Now, the backstory of Attack on Titan world go like this. There was once a girl named Ymir. This girl was a slave to her Eldian king, King Fritz. One day, Ymir let the pigs which belonged to King Fritz go free. Obviously, this wouldn't go unchecked, so King Fritz brought in all the slaves and gave them a choice. If they don't point out who let the pigs out, he would gouge each and every slave's eyes out. Immediately after, all the slaves pointed at Ymir. Ymir's punishment was that she was allowed to go free, but not in the way you're thinking. Ymir was basically let go into the woods in order to be hunted and killed. So Ymir runs through the woods and gets shot with arrows in her neck, the bottom of her foot, and other places. Ymir runs until she eventually reaches a tree with an opening inside. She goes inside the tree and she falls into water. Then a spine-like organism attaches itself to her back. And that is how the Founding Titan was made. Once King Fritz saw this, he realized the potential of Ymir, and with Ymir still being in a slave's mindset, she went back to King Fritz to be his slave again. Only this time, King Fritz made her bear children for him, and the name he gives these children are the same names used for the walls. King Fritz used Ymir's powers to conquer his Marleyan enemies, and due to this, a Marleyan tried to assassinate King Fritz with a spear. And as her last act as a slave, Ymir saves King Fritz by jumping in front of the spear and ultimately dying. Following this, King Fritz makes his children eat their mother to retain the power of the Titans, and to keep on the path of the destruction of the Marleyans. This is the backstory of Attack on Titan's world, a world where a king makes his children consume their mother in order to retain the power that can assist him in destroying the Marleyans. Now speeding up the story a bit, following these events will be known as the Great Titan War. In this war, the Eldians were versing the Marleyans. The Eldians had the power of the Titans, but the Marleyans managed to steal some key Titans like the Colossal Titan and the Armored Titan. The current king during this time was Karl Fritz, and he chose to take his people to an island where he erected 3 walls named after the children of Ymir, and made up of Colossal Titans. And he threatened that if anyone tried to disrupt the Eldians on their island, then he would enact the Rumbling, in which all the Colossal Titans in the wall would be activated and stomp the world down. Now knowing the history of this world, it is easy to see why the current world is the way it is. The current world outside the walls sees Eldians being treated awfully, having to wear armbands to identify themselves like Jewish people during World War II, and also having to live secluded from everyone else, while also not being allowed to go to different places, and they also don't receive the same luxuries as the Marleyans. The only thing for the Eldians on the outside world to look up to is becoming a quote honorary Marleyan, in which they have proven to hate their background and proven that they will fight for the Marleyan government. The only reason that they keep the Eldians around is because the Eldians are the only race that can inherit the Titans. So after one Titans die, they need another Eldian to eat that Titan to gain its power. The best way that they figured that they can do this is to recruit a bunch of Malians and see which ones are the strongest. The discrimination these Eldians receive is the reason why they hate the island of devils so much. The hate for the Eldians that were able to live on this secluded island is almost as equal to the hate that the Malians feel for them. Which is where Zeke's twisted logic comes in. Zeke's father, Grisha Yeager, was a part of a group that wanted to emancipate Eldians. They even had an informant on the inside. His father married his mother Dina, and Dina was of the royal Fritz bloodline. Since both parents were trying to free the Eldians, of course they pushed their logic on Zeke. They taught him about the true history of the world and how what is happening now is evil. But while Zeke was being taught by his parents, he wasn't getting the love a child should receive from his parents. Zeke, yearning for this feeling, seeked elsewhere, and he found it with the former Beast Titan. He used to always play ball with him and develop a close relationship with him, and eventually Zeke was convinced by the former Beast Titan to turn his parents in. Zeke followed through with that advice, and his parents were quote-unquote killed. Zeke, still talking with the former Beast Titan, became the successor of the Beast Titan, and became so close with him that he in a way inherited his will. Zeke's plan is to gain the founding Titan's power and make it so no more Eldians can reproduce, so eventually the whole race will die out. You see, Zeke believed his father was right. He knew that the world he lived in was not right, but he disagreed on the solution. Ever since a child, Zeke was bred to hate Eldians, who resided on the island of the devils. They blamed this island for every problem they had. Zeke had trained himself so much that instead of trying to get rid of the hate, he tries to destroy the thing that everyone hates, Eldians. This philosophy is actually quite grim and complex if you dive further into it. If I applied his philosophy to another scenario, let's say slavery, since we were talking about races and hatred, Zeke will acknowledge that he being born of the black race makes him a devil at birth. Zeke would believe the hate on black people would be justified, and that as an act of trying to be as close to humans as possible, slaves should be made so that their bloodline dies off. Now you may see the grim part now, but the complex or twisted part is yet to be shown. You see, Zeke believes that not allowing Eldians to reproduce means everyone wins. The Malians gets to kill off the Eldian bloodline, and the Eldians get to finally be free, because in Zeke's mind, the Eldians get to live out the rest of their lives and do whatever they want, and they will be immortalized in Malian culture because of the payment of their ancestors' sins. Now, if you have been listening closely, you may have realized something. Zeke's true goal isn't really to make everyone win. Zeke's true goal is to become as close to a Malian as he can possibly be. You see, all of Zeke's lives, being an Eldian has tormented him. He sent his parents to die, he has lost friends, and he has to go through his whole life with the label of Eldian, in which it might as well be devil. The psychological trauma this creates is astronomical, especially considering the fact that this has been going on ever since Zeke's birth. Zeke, his whole life, has been programmed to think that he was a devil, and if you're the devil, then that means the other side angels. Zeke's true ambition is to escape the devil label and be dubbed an angel. Everything he has done has been for the approval of the Malians, ratting on his parents' group and sending them to die in order to protect Marley, infiltrating the island of the devils in order to retrieve the founding titan for Marley, making a plan to cut off reproduction of all Eldians in order to get immortalized as the one true soldier that stopped the devilish Eldians, the one Eldian soldier that was a true Malian at heart. Zeke is played with an inner conflict, but at the core he is still looking for what we are all looking for. Zeke is looking to be accepted. Zeke is looking to be praised. Zeke is looking to become human again. Attack on Titan is a story I admire very much. Like every one of my top 10 manga, it teaches me a different lesson from the others. The lesson that Attack on Titan teaches me particularly is the lesson of honesty. The setting of disaster and constant death is brilliant because men are the most honest in their final moments. And throwing these characters into the lion's den with no guarantee of survival forces them to face their mortality every day. And in consequence, face who they truly are and what they truly want. Zeke knows what he truly wants. The cutting off of the bloodline of the Eldians. I made a point to prove that he did this because he wanted to be as close to a Marleyan as possible. But that is a little deceiving because we all know humans are very complex creatures and have many reasons for what they do. You can say Zeke was trying to fulfill his promise to the former Beast Titan. You can say he was trying to justify the torment he received all his life. But one thing you can never say is that this isn't what Zeke wanted. Attack on Titan is a story about knowing what you truly want and being willing to die for that belief. And in the end, I would say Zeke was always willing to die for his belief. Alright guys, thanks for staying to the end card. A few notes, this was edited from my phone, so hopefully it's edited well. And also please subscribe so I can continue pushing out these videos. This has been Anything TV, like and subscribe, and I'm out. Deuces.